What is up, Coaster fans, and welcome to the second ever episode of the Coaster Rundown. My name is Cole, aka Park Pros, and I'm joined as always by my good friend Jack, aka Coaster John. Jack, how we doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, Cole. I'm happy to be back. I'm still so excited about this series that we're doing, and we got a lot of great news this week, so let's get into it.
Yeah, a ton of really good coaster news this week. Starting off with our very exciting first topic of the day. Wednesday at their FT92 fan event, Six Flags Fiesta Texas announced their new for 2022 coaster, Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger, which is a B&M dive coaster. Some stats on this thing: it'll be 150 feet tall. It has a 95 degree beyond vertical first drop, which I believe is the first beyond vertical first drop for any B&M out there.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it spans 2,500 feet of track. It has a top speed of 60 miles per hour, and it features 2 inversions. And Six Flags Fiesta Texas has kind of been an innovator over the past years, and now they're going back to B&M for the first time since 2012. The Six Flags chain is, with a pretty well-established model. So first of all, let me ask you, what are your initial impressions on the ride? How does it look? And how do you think the fit is with the rest of that coaster lineup at Six Flags Fiesta Texas?
Well, I think you and I both are definitely not alone in the fact that we were pretty shocked to see this. Obviously, as you mentioned, we both kind of thought it was going to be something brand new, something innovative. They were, not that it's not innovative. It definitely looks really great with the beyond vertical drop. And as you mentioned, I think that is the first one on a B&M, which is sick. And that's probably, to me, like the coolest part about this ride, because everything else to me kind of just looks like Emperor or just any other B&M dive coaster that we've seen before. However, there isn't another B&M dive coaster like anywhere near Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I guess the closest one is probably SheiKra at Busch Gardens Tampa. That's the closest one I can think of. So in the area, they haven't really seen anything like this before. So I think it's a pretty solid addition, and I think the ramifications of this addition are what make it the most exciting, because the fact that Six Flags Fiesta Texas and the chain as a whole is working with B&M once more, that's super exciting. Obviously, I wasn't thinking that was going to happen for a long time. Six Flags has been known as the discount chain for so long, so the fact that they're going back to B&M and making this, splash of an addition at the park is really exciting. I couldn't even remember the last time that Six Flags had worked with B&M, so it is super exciting, and it's a really cool theme as well. However, the name is really cool. I get that. Cliffhanger, it's awesome. However, everything that I've been hearing from everyone, and the first thing that I thought, it's going to be a dive coaster that dives off the cliff.
Right.
And I think that's a really big missed opportunity by the park that they didn't, because they literally have, 2 or 3 coasters that go up on the quarry wall and dive off the cliff. And now they're going to have a coaster called Cliffhanger, and it doesn't dive off the cliff. So I don't know. I think it's a little bit of a nitpick, but it is definitely going to be the primary nitpick of the coaster community with Cliffhanger, the fact that it's in the middle of the park and doesn't actually dive off the cliff. But regardless, it is a really cool theme. It's going to be great for the Scream Punk section of the park.
Yeah, so to nitpick a little bit about your, and it's kind of been a big thing in the community, complaining about it not going off the cliff. So I think with that quarry wall, they do have some wind issues with Iron Rattler and Superman, where some wind kind of gets trapped in there and it ends up shutting down the rides because they don't want to risk a valley or something like that. So that's just a nitpick there. Getting into the specifics of the ride, I think the first half looks like a pretty typical B&M dive coaster, to be honest. It's nothing too special. I don't think it's going to be super intense or anything. What intrigues me is that second half, especially those 3 elements. So you go down a straight down drop off the mid-course brake run. There's a turnaround, which looks like you hit it at a pretty good speed. So there's an opportunity for some good G-forces there. An airtime hill that looks unbelievable. All those elements are really kind of tightly knit, it looks like. So I think that's going to be a pretty wild ending to the ride. But yeah, it looks like a typical B&M dive coaster. I think it's a solid addition for this park. It looks like a super exciting ride. I love the paint scheme. I guess I like the theme, to fit in the Scream Punk area. I have no complaints about this thing. It looks like a solid ride.
Obviously, now they're going to have 3 B&Ms at the park, which is great. It's going to be the park's 11th coaster. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a home run addition for enthusiasts and the GPs.
To me, it looks like a solid addition. And I don't think
Definitely.
Six Flags Fiesta Texas is done in the next couple of years. I think they've probably got something else pretty big planned, because this has kind of been a favorite in the chain for the last couple of years. So I think this might be a step towards something bigger. But for now, I've got a good thumbs up on Cliffhanger. I think it looks like a solid addition for the park.
Yeah, Fiesta Texas definitely appears to be on the rise. And another park that I'm hoping in the next few years is also on the rise is King's Dominion, which is another park that just recently started another teaser campaign. We've already seen the track and supports. They're sitting in the King's Dominion parking lot, and the supports kind of look like bamboo. So like that's why everybody kind of thinks that they're possibly going to have a jungle theme with this ride. It's looking like it's going to be an SNS 40 free spin, which isn't like the craziest new addition. However, they can put that pretty much like anywhere in the park. It's a tiny little footprint. And we've seen that recently with Adventureland and Dragon Slayer. Cole, where are you thinking this is going to go in the park?
Yeah, so all indications are pointing to this ride going where the Crypt used to be, the park's former top spin sort of ride. And that's kind of in the Congo area of the park, right next to where Volcano is. And like we mentioned with Fiesta Texas, this is another park where I don't think they're done. I don't think this 2022 coaster is going to be the last thing we see there. It's interesting that they decided to replace the Crypt before, replacing one of their most iconic, beloved coasters, probably, top 3 coaster in the park. The real thing that I'm kind of worried about in this whole situation is there's rumors that Avalanche might be going in addition to, this new coaster replacing it in that area. If so, that Congo area needs like a lot of work, which has exciting prospects. They're going to have to completely redo it because they have basically nothing back there anymore. I mean, no one's going to go crazy over a 40 free spin, but you got to replace old rides at some point. So I think the exciting prospect here is what's to come next, but for now we get a new credit at King's Dominion. So I don't think anyone's complaining about that.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier too with Avalanche closing. I can't confirm that is totally closed. Like the whole that whole section of the park is closed off. So I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't get that credit. It seemed like a fun-ish bobsled, but obviously we know that the bobsled model is a little bit outdated. So and it was right next to where Volcano was. So hopefully with them removing that, obviously, this new 40 free spin isn't going to take up that much room, land-wise. So hopefully if they have Volcano's old plot with Avalanche's old plot right next to it, they can replace it with something major. Like, and it better be something crazy because, like you mentioned, Volcano was like a one-of-a-kind, crazy good coaster, top 3. And, I never got to ride it, but I've heard amazing things. And, if they're removing another coaster too right next to it, like it better be huge. So obviously, they have this addition in the meantime, but hopefully in the next, 2-3 years after, something even bigger is coming.
So on to our third topic of today. YouTube user Ryan Schmidt posted a flyover video highlighting the construction site of the new Lost Island theme park opening in Waterloo, Iowa in 2022. So this video shows the 2 main coasters opening at the park, which are the Intamin launch coaster, formerly known as Kanonen, which was at Leesburg, and an SLC formerly known as Copra at Rentanga Junction. So basically these rides are fully constructed along with, a huge Ferris wheel that seems to be kind of the center point of the park and a couple other flat rides. But Jack, obviously this is a project that I've kind of covered being in this region for a long time and a Midwest guy. But I kind of want to hear your opinions on this project as, an East Coast guy. And it's not really making huge splashes across the industry, but I mean, we're getting a brand new theme park. There's going to be three new credits there. What are your kind of thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a really exciting project. Obviously, the main park in Iowa right now is Adventureland, and now it's got a whole lot of competition coming with this, a brand new theme park, which, in my memory, I can't really remember a time where we're getting like a ground up brand new theme park. Usually it's like, an acquisition or like a revamp of a park and whatnot, but like this is like from the ground up. Definitely a reason for me to come to Iowa at some point. I would definitely love to check out this new park. And it seems like a pretty decent lineup to start off with, an Intamin launch coaster. I mean, yeah, an SLC, give or take it. Hopefully it has decent trains and restraints and stuff. And the Ferris wheel's there too. So obviously it seems like they have a whole lot more work to do. I'm not sure if they're planning on opening this next year or probably more like 2023. So either way, it's super exciting and they're definitely, getting their work done.
Yeah, the plan is for 2022, the summer of 2022, they said. But I was going to mention, it looks like they do have a lot of work to do. I mean,
a lot more, yeah.
Land clearing, pavement. I mean, it's good they've started ride construction, but I mean, there's infrastructure, there's buildings, there's bathrooms, there's plumbing, there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done. And as you know, in the Midwest, we get pretty horrible winters. So definitely cool to be getting another theme park in Iowa, and nice to kind of touch back on this story after it kind of being a big story, about a year ago.
So Iowa isn't the only state getting a brand new theme park, because it seems like Arizona will also be getting the same as well. And as you know, Arizona doesn't have really a whole lot amusement park wise, besides, of course, castles and coasters, which I know, Cole, you are familiar with. But apparently the developers behind a big new entertainment district in Glendale, Arizona called Crystal Lagoons Island Resort announced that they will be reportedly working with the toy brand Mattel to open an adventure park at the resort. This park will include go-karts, a Thomas and Friends kids section, but most importantly to us, they're going to be opening a Hot Wheels themed roller coaster. So the pretty generic rendering that the developers released makes it kind of look like that the coaster is either going to be a Vekoma or Aero Looper. Now this project is in its very, very early stages, so I'm sure the coaster might not end up being anything what the initial pictures look like. I doubt it'll be a Vekoma or an Aero. It might not look anything like what the picture shows right now. Personally, I loved Hot Wheels growing up, so I think this is a pretty sick concept, and I'm very excited for it. But hopefully it'll be a better model than what the renderings are suggesting. But Cole, what do you think of this project, and what kind of model of coaster do you think makes the most sense for this project?
Yeah, I'm super stoked at the idea of this project. I mean, like you, I was a big Hot Wheels fan growing up, so the idea of Hot Wheels themed roller coaster kind of geeks out the little kid in me. As far as the model of the coaster, like you said, it was a pretty generic rendering. Arrow's out of business, so unfortunately, buddy, I don't think that we'll be getting one of those. A Vekoma,
I highly doubt that.
A Vekoma kind of makes sense. We haven't really seen any of these new Vekoma, new gen, loopers or launch coasters or anything like that in the U.S. yet. So that might be a little unlikely. They're mostly working in Europe and overseas. But regardless, this is a really cool project. Like you mentioned, a late 2022 opening, ideally. I know that the Super Bowl is being held right down the street, which is kind of in accordance with this project being built. But no pun intended, but Arizona is a bit of a coaster desert. So it'll be nice to get a second, at least decent-sized park there, even if it is kind of like an FEC. A new credit out there will be great because I love the Phoenix area, and it's a really exciting thing for the area and the surrounding area of the stadium. So for our final topic today, we have some news that came out a few weeks ago out of Grand Island, New York, just outside of Buffalo. We actually got some confirmation earlier this month that Gene Staples, the Chicago businessman who bought and saved Indiana Beach early last year, has now agreed to also purchase the previously named Fantasy Island amusement park. In the past few weeks, the park has confirmed that they'll be renaming the property Niagara Amusement Park and Splash World, and they've actually been hiring in an attempt to try to open their water park this year. Jack, from the footage I've seen and what the kind of reports are, there's been a lot of graffiti, and this park is in pretty rough shape, with a lot of the rides already removed or damaged or sold off. Realistically, do you think this newly named Niagara Amusement Park can open in 2022? Because to me, it seems a little unlikely.
I'm pretty hopeful that it could open in 2022. I mean, Gene Staples for the win once again, because this guy is just, buying parks and taking names, because he's just like going all over the place, buying up all these parks. He did the exact same thing earlier this summer with Clementon Park, and that's what we were all hoping to happen. I'm just happy that it reopened in general, and it's nice that Gene Staples is doing this and, going around the country and buying all these parks. So obviously Fantasy Island, the most recent one, it's now a much better name, Niagara Amusement Park. It's more fitting for that region. I am hoping that, they can reopen the park and they can reopen it with, new additions, because that was one of Gene Staples' goals, apparently, was to reopen the park with more of a classic amusement park feel.
Yeah, and kind of the word that Gene Staples keeps using in kind of all of these, press runs that he's doing after saving these parks is that he wants to save, like Americana, which I visited Indiana Beach last year and I also went this year. And I hadn't visited the park prior to Gene Staples taking over, but it does have that kind of classic American, mid-century feel to it. And I love being at Indiana Beach. It's a super pleasant experience. Apparently, they've done a lot to fix it up. And, they've done a lot of retracking of the wooden coasters there and such. And I've had nothing but positive experiences there. So to see Gene Staples save another park is just tremendous news to me. And I'm happy for the people of Buffalo that kind of grew up there. And thank you, Gene Staples, for continuing to, save amusement parks across the country. Us in the coaster community really do appreciate it. So keep up the good work. And that's it for this week's Coaster Rundown. Thank you for joining us again this week. We'll be back next week with some more stories on, the amusement park industry like we will every week here. So be sure to hit subscribe on my channel.
And of course, subscribe to my channel. I just uploaded a bunch of different vlogs from my trip to Texas back in March. And, I'm very excited to share all those with you. So go check them out.
And another quick plug, I actually just started a TikTok for the channel. It's at Park Pros. I'm going to be posting clips of this show on there. I have some other content planned, so I'm planning on posting daily on TikTok, so make sure you go check out my TikTok. It'll be right there at Park Pros. Go check it out. Go give me a follow. That's it for this week's Coaster Rundown. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Thanks, guys. See you later.